Back for another live recording session of the Vet S.O.S show. Welcome to the Vet S.O.S show, brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the Vet S.O.S Life Preserver. I am here with Mark Elder. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing great. Welcome everyone to our next episode and live Vet S.O.S show. We're super excited to bring the resources to you, and I'm super excited to hear from more about Shawn too, because this first episode, I know we've got some updates for you. So
everybody wants to learn about me, Mark. Everybody.
That is right.
So we do have a great show today. We got some awesome guests. They're going to be dropping some true knowledge bombs on us. We got Dr. Vincent Soto coming in. We got Alfredo Torres coming in and Jane Babcock coming in today. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be some great information, especially looking at the job search process, the VA process, a bunch of these things that we go through as veterans. There's just going to be some amazing information today. I'm so excited to hear what these guests have to say today, Mark.
Yeah, me too. And, you know, we've already had just a stellar lineup from our last batch of shows. And so, you know, if you haven't caught those, make sure that you check out and ring that bell on our YouTube Vet S.O.S show page and our playlist there, so you can make sure that you're getting the updates and you're getting the notifications on live. You can catch our former guests there and our former episodes.
Absolutely. So we're going through Restream. You can pair your channels with us. You can broadcast this live over your channels as well. If you have any questions on how to do that, just put hashtag pairing in the comments and we'll get you directions on how to do that. Great medium through Restream. Amazing that you can push it out to all these different channels at the same time. Technology's come so far, and I'm really just a dinosaur. Just a dinosaur there, Mark.
Yes, well, you know, we all know Trevor Houston from the Who You Know show and network, and he is our millennial. So I've relied on him to get me through a lot of that learning curve. So let's give a couple shout outs and see a couple people in. Sharon Tate, good morning to you. Dion Myers, good morning to you. Again, if you are just joining us, Shawn had mentioned this, but don't forget, for future episodes, you can pair your channels. So if you'd like to learn how to stream that show as a piece of original content to your channel in your social media network, put hashtag pairing and we'll DM you and make sure that we get that so you can push this feed out to your network as well. Thank you for your support and thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dion supporting us two times in a row. He's great dude out there helping other people succeed as well, which is just outstanding. He's in that military transition roundtable with me. So we've had some great conversations. So real good stuff right there. And Sharon's already posting. She wants to know how to do this Restream thing. We're going to have to shoot her a DM for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
Pushing it out. This is great. So today we're going to talk about the current labor market, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about what's going on. I mean, we are in a transition of ourselves, right? In the perhaps economy, in the labor market, a lot of things going on domestically, in, you know, not even speaking internationally, but some of those things are going to impact us, right? As you get ready to transition out of the service and into the civilian sector, or if you're a veteran, a military family member, and you're also transitioning, the labor market certainly is changing. It always is.
Yep.
But we've come out of an unprecedented time, pandemic, and it has really evolved the landscape of how people are mentally preparing themselves, psychologically, what they're open to as far as the work environment that they want, and how they're going to work and how they're going to engage at the company. So what are you seeing, Shawn, as far as, you know, maybe coming out of that great resignation and how some of the job seekers and, you know, I know you're getting ready to transition too, how you're seeing the application interview process, all of those things change?
So for the military people, you know, the transitioning service members, there are definitely that fear, that unknown. You know, some people go directly into what they want to do. Maybe they're staying in the career field they were in the military, so it's a little bit easier transition. But then you got people like me who I'm ready to move on to a different career, try something new. So as you go through that, you have to sort of work that whole process. So I think there's people that are scared or at least nervous with the looming recession, and can you find a job in this type of economy? And we know we got the Great Resignation going on. As I go to a lot of these networking events, you hear a lot of people only asking about the hybrid model or the working from home model. Right now, that's an option. I don't know where we're going to be in a couple years. I don't know if you're going to, because you're seeing some of the major companies already say, hey, we want you to come back to the office. We got this nice, shiny, big building that's empty. You need to come in here so we can keep paying the bills. Exactly. So, where we go from there, I don't know. But like what I'm seeing right now, I'm really enjoying the process. I have really focused on targeted networking using the tools like LinkedIn, where you hone in on a specific career field, a specific location. And I do my searches that way. And I find people in that field, in the area I want to live, and I start networking with them that way. And it's been amazing. I would say not results, because I'm not technically job searching yet. I still have a couple months, but just the way they've reached out and they've helped me. And I have a couple people shopping my resume around already. Even I'm still 9 months out. So who knows? Maybe by the time I get to that point, I'm already well lubed into a job and don't have to worry about it. But I think the targeting network piece is the one, and you really got to go after it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we're seeing more and more where in our network, for you viewers, we have just an extensive, enormous network, right? In the career transition space, not ours, but in the career transition space, right? Ours is pretty good, but not that big as the whole entire career transition space, right? So, when you think about that, we see a lot of trends. We talk to a lot of people that are in the search and they're going through their transition, whether it's military, from the military or not. We had pre-pandemic, we had people that were coming through our summit. We were helping teach people how to differentiate themselves and get themselves out of the black hole, right? Of the applicant tracking systems. And that was the former issue, right, of having so much volume of job seekers and it overloading the applicant tracking systems, overloading companies who were hiring. And so people were getting ghosted, and that's why we started calling the applicant tracking system the black hole, right? So there's been a paradigm shift. And right now, what we're seeing is job seekers in the networking space, right? The Who You Know network, the career transition networks, they're disengaging. And we've looked into why. Why is this happening? Why are people not, maybe stepping out to get additional resources that are available, free resources, right, that are available? Number one is, awareness, right? And that's by design what this show is about, to bring
Right.
awareness to the veteran service organizations and the career transition resources that are available. But also tied in with that, because we saw people disengage, we started asking people, well, what's going on? And engagement, right? The evolution of the job search, engagement is not necessarily as big an issue. People are getting interviews, they're getting traction, they're not going into that black hole anymore. And so, and you may experience that, right? In your new search, you're getting interviews. But we've kind of shifted back to the other problem, which is the tactical and strategic side, making sure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized, that it matches with your resume, that your resume is optimized, that your networking is on point, right? And that your message and your story is also crafted to the fullest extent. So, in other words, people aren't having as much trouble getting their foot in the door right now. They're having trouble closing the deal, right? And I think that is part of the problem that we're seeing right now. So you guys tell us in the comments, is that your pain point right now? Are you getting traction or are you having more trouble closing the deal at this point?
So we got Dan Roth has been chatting in here in the comments. I've been following him for a long time on LinkedIn. Does great things to push information out to people, to the industry, to help people find jobs and everything. Doing real good stuff there. And he'd put in there that the ATS system doesn't necessarily ghost, but bad recruiters do. And I see a lot of people talking about recruiters on LinkedIn, and that's sort of an unknown field to me because the last 20 years I haven't had to deal with recruiters. Last time I dealt with a recruiter, I wound up signing a contract that took the next 20 years of my life. So
That's a great point.
There's definitely, things out there. So you have, the recruiting piece. You have the ATS system, which seems to, I don't want to say baffle people, but I think the ATS system is still kind of an unknown to a lot of people. Some people really understand it, I think. And then people like myself really have no idea. I'm still used to 20 years ago when I was, doing jobs and looking for things. I went and shook somebody's hand and I got an interview, not necessarily the way you do it anymore. So, that whole process is going to be interesting. But I think you had some great points on, you have to have your LinkedIn on point. You have to have your resume on point. I know there's a lot of debate out there about cover letters, whether they're of value, not of value. Some people still require them. For the transitioning service members, though, right now I'm going through the Hiring Our Heroes Skill Bridge program. So working that process, the resumes were released last week. So now we're starting to get contacted from companies, and a lot of them are wanting an updated resume from the last one we submitted already. So that's a whole new thing for me, trying to, okay, now I got to tailor my resume for this very specific fellowship internship. But that's where I think veterans really have to take advantage of that CSP skill bridge opportunity, because you potentially could line yourself up for a job right out of the military. If you go in there and you apply the skills you have, your work ethic, you really, put on you go into work and you do your job, they're going to hire you. So I think there's a big opportunity, and I think a lot of people still miss doing that.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just like when people are graduating college, right? When you're graduating college, who wouldn't want to have that offer in hand, right?
Oh yeah.
And the same thing, if you're transitioning out of the service, I mean, absolutely, you want to have that offer in hand, but now's the time to start. So if you are currently still active duty, but you're short time, right? Make sure that you are plugging into all of the resources that are available. And I think that, that's by design, one of the things that we can help with, one of the things that the network can help with. So part of our training and part of the walking folks through that transition process or job search process is the network and leveraging that, right? Yep. And how to conduct those conversations and make sure that you're effective and not just having nice chats, right? And so I want to kind of pivot to that, because tactically, when we're networking, we're talking with as many people as possible, right? And hopefully it's targeted. But the other side of it is, how many conversations have you had in a networking meeting, right? Where you've had a great conversation, but there weren't necessarily any action items, right? You didn't close or leave with any action items or any actionable content. So there's the pitfall there too, is that a lot of people, they think that networking is just meeting people, right? And having conversations, but it's more than that. Networking at the premise is about fostering relationships for business. That's, pretty much the definition in Webster, right? So, and primarily for business. So, one of the things that you really want to keep in mind as you're starting your job search, or if you're in your job search, is as you're networking, you have to have your ask. And that's one of the biggest pieces of the networking side is, if you've got your other strategic components and assets in place, your resume, your LinkedIn, et cetera, now's the time to start boning up on your networking. Because I don't know about you, Shawn, how much networking are you doing in service?
So I'm doing a ton of it. And honestly, I started at 18 years, really starting to get into LinkedIn. And a lot of people will tell you, even that last 2 years isn't enough time. I would encourage service members to get on LinkedIn immediately and start networking. What's interesting, like when I do probably 3 major events on a regular basis. One is any 50 strong events I can make. They're virtual networking events, the Vets to Industry networking events. In fact, there's one this afternoon as well. And then the Who You Know show, trying to get into either the summit or just watching the weekly show and networking with people that are in the comments. So those 3 are probably the 3 major ones that I participate in. And I'm in an interesting, or I wouldn't say unique, but an interesting position where I don't necessarily have an ask. My big ask is just information. I really just want to know more about what you do. So if I'm connecting with somebody, it's about what they do. Is it something that maybe I want to pursue, or am I checking that off the list? Nope, I don't need to worry about that one. But hey, I got a great contact out of it. So it starts with, like, when you do these virtual events, you're looking at, hundreds of people in a room, right? So I start reaching out to people, and the key is you have to follow up. I still get requests from people with no personalized message. I never hear back from them again. They're just sitting there in my contacts. I don't know anything about them. I may try to reach out to them. I may or may not ever get a response. So I have a bunch of people like that in my connections that are just sort of there, and eventually will probably get weeded out if I ever get to that point where I got to par down people because I hit 30,000, which I don't ever foresee happening, but who knows? So I think that's the key, though, is 1, you target your networking. 2, you reach out and you start that conversation. I've had some great conversations that have led to amazing relationships from people I've never met. But you wind up, you can still develop a deep relationship over social media just by talking and having that conversation. Sometimes it leads to a Zoom meeting or face to face if you're lucky to be in the same area. But sometimes they could be overseas. They could be somewhere halfway around the world. You may never see them, but you have to follow up. So if you're doing these Vets to Industry or 50 strong, don't just send out the blanket requests and never follow up. You gotta reach out and meet these people.
Oh yeah, man. You got a couple big bombs dropped in that one, right? And what we're seeing is, here's the key. How do you spell success, right? I used to ask this question, how do you spell success? And people would look at me like, huh? And then I would say FOLLOWUP, right? Follow up, right?
Absolutely.
That's how you spell success. So, that's number 1. That's key. Yeah, absolutely. You got to have follow up in order to be successful, right? Especially if you haven't closed the deal
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that prior meeting, right? So that's where the follow up. And the other thing is, this kills me. I ask job seekers all the time, okay, how'd your interview go? Oh, went pretty good. Yeah, we had a great rapport, good questions. I was able to answer them all. All right. Did you send a thank you email? Did you send a thank you? Huh? Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And I get, huh? And I'm like, you gotta follow up, right? You gotta follow up. When was your interview? 2 days ago? Okay, send an email right now
Yep.
and follow up, right?
So I'm actually looking forward to this part. So the resumes just got released for the Hiring Our Heroes Fellowship. In the next 2 weeks or so, I should start doing interviews. So this is going to be my first opportunity to use BombBomb to send those video thank yous, that you guys talk about in the summit. So I'm excited about that piece because I don't know how many people out there are actually trying to do it that are transitioning from the military. So I'm hoping that that they're like, oh, look at this guy.
So tell us about BombBomb, right? Tell the audience about BombBomb, what it is, and how it might be able to help them.
Okay, so BombBomb is a video recording program online. It's a website. You go in there, you through the Who You Know network, you can get, I think it's 14 days free.
Yes, yeah, there's a free trial.
Yep. So if you go through the Who You Know network, you can get the 14-day trial and record a bunch of videos and send them off. But if you're going to do that, do it with intention and be prepared to record, as many videos as you can and get them out in that trial period. You can pay for it, and then you have a annual subscription, and it's very simple to use. You go on there, you click record, and you record. It's really that simple. And then you can use any number of websites to edit your videos and go through and add captions and whatever you want to do to it. So through the summit, you guys talked about doing these follow-up thank yous or just job search videos in general and posting them to places like LinkedIn. And BombBomb is the medium that you guys talk about. So, I started looking at this, started playing with it. Super easy to use. And trust me, if I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out when it comes to technology. So, um, really easy. But you get on there, you record your videos, quick 15, 20-second video as a thank you, and you can email it directly. It has options where you can post directly to LinkedIn, or you can send it straight as a message. So even like with connecting, sometimes I'll record a video to somebody and send it as the thank you for the connection. And the response you get is amazing because a lot of people still don't see that. And you guys have been doing the summit for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, several years, about 4 years.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
thousands of people know about this, and there's still tons of people that have never seen this before. So I think it's a great avenue to make you stand out. You send a
yeah.
video, people are like, "Whoa, look, what's this guy doing?"
Oh yeah, for sure. So in the ticker below is actually the link to BombBomb. So yes, you can sign up for a free trial. Um, here's the rub, right? So you've just interviewed, and
Mhm.
maybe you're one of five, maybe you're one of 10, right? Candidates that they've actually called into interview, how many ever that is. How do you differentiate yourself aside from in that interview? What do you do afterwards? What can you do afterwards, right? To make sure that you're the squeaky wheel that gets that grease,
Absolutely.
right? One of the things that people do is they will send a thank you email. But when you get an email and it's a thank you email, typically it's just black and white text, maybe a couple lines. Maybe you wrote a book, right? Which would be totally also inappropriate. You don't want to do that in an email. How about leveraging what they already know, which is if they've liked you, they've seen you, they've interacted with you, they've engaged, and it's also an opportunity to show that you're a person, right? Rehumanize the job search. And so using this tool, and there's a lot of other video tools that are available that are out there that you can use, but BombBomb makes it very easy.
Yeah.
Um, I would say send a thank you video. Number one, here's the key, right? Put their name on the screen, and that's one of the biggest issues. Is that right? Like you can use a little whiteboard or speech bubble like this. Put their name on the screen. When they get that email, they're going to get a visual with their name on it, so they know that that is made just for them, that this video is made just for them. So that's the catalyst that gets them to click on that video and actually watch it, right? And now you're able to convey what you wanted to convey. You could actually use it to maybe answer a question that you didn't answer so well, right? During the interview, there's a lot of things that you can do in that, and it totally will set you apart, right? It might not land you the job, but it totally will set you apart for sure.
Yeah, and that's really what you're up against, in my opinion. I mean, now, granted, I haven't had to look for a job in 20 years, so my experience with job searching is limited. But to me, it makes sense. You stand out and make people want to contact you, and they send your video around. So now half the company knows who you are because it's easily to send through, text or email. I mean, it to me seems like a win-win, unless you're like me and you got a face for radio.
Yeah, you and I both. You and I both. So Dr. Soto has been talking about vulnerability, right, and being able to not only expose your weaknesses, right, because that's the first step, but of many. So it's not just exposing your weaknesses; it's being able to capitalize. And there's the old adage out there, right? Maximize your strengths, minimize your weaknesses.
Yeah.
So a lot of people they take that to the 10th degree where that's all they focus on is their strengths.
Hmm.
But I don't think that that's what that adage means, right? maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weakness, that tells me that if you're maximizing your strengths at the same time, you are cognizant of and working on your weaknesses, because if you're trying to minimize those, right, you're still working on them.
Oh,
It doesn't mean
absolutely.
that you're completely ignoring them.
Yeah, I think you need to, one, it's continuously trying to improve yourself. So you definitely want to be working on your weaknesses as whatever they may be. But I think you also need to include in there that you need to learn from your weaknesses and or your failures. So there's been struggles through my life that I have directly been able to connect with soldiers over. So putting myself in a position as a first sergeant or just a senior NCO, being able to talk to my soldiers about anger management issues that I've had and how I've gone to anger management has enabled me to develop that rapport and that relationship with the soldiers, and truly lead them to where they need the help, especially because we still have that stigma, right, in the military. There's been a lot of work done to kill it, but that stigma still exists. A lot of people still think that your career is going to be over. You're going to lose your security clearance. All these things are going to happen. And granted, in extreme cases, maybe, but we're talking extreme cases. But to just make yourself better mentally, you need to go get the help you need. And that ties into some of the things our other guests have been passionate about with like the veteran suicide.
Mhm.
People reach out and get the help they need. So back to what you're originally asking, though, is I agree with you. I don't think that's what the adage means. I think you continue to utilize your strengths, but you work on your weaknesses. You make them better and you bring them up to par, and then also learn along the way as you go. And I think you'll be much better for it.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because look, is people are tracking, right? And they're deciding whether or not that they want to reach out for help. And also tying in that statement that Dr. Soto made about being vulnerable. I mean, when you're in the military, right, and you're a service member, your individuality, for the most part, right,
Yep.
is minimized. And so that trains us, right, as veterans, then as active duty and veterans, right, that individuality is not as valuable necessarily.
Very true.
And look, I'm talking broad generalities, right?
Right.
Certainly not throughout the military, that's not the case, but in general, that's kind of the mantra, is that we're building a cohesive unit. And I know that we've tried to change that, right? Commercials, Army of One, right? Things like that. But
There's a lot of debate on that one.
that's right. But if you think about it, if you're not asking for help and you're in a mental space where you feel like you, in some kind of way, shape, or form, that you have to be this robot, right? This clone. What is that doing as you transition out of the military? How is it restricting you if you're transitioning to the civilian sector and you feel like that is not valued? It totally dehumanizes, and that's what we were talking about with Bomb Bomb. But you have to put that human back in human resources, right? You got to make sure that your individuality is expressed, and so by being vulnerable, and I'm going to bring this full circle here, by being vulnerable, it's allowing you to craft your story to be able to convey it, right? And have the recipient be able to engage and acknowledge that, yes, you are human, right? So I think that that's super important. It's a great point that you brought up.
Yeah. And what's funny is one of the best things about our military is our commanders and leaders have the freedom to make decisions. They have the freedom to make a decision on the battlefield in the heat of battle. They don't, for the most part, have to, call and wait for orders to come down from higher in the middle of something. But that doesn't translate to us transitioning, in our individuality, because outside of making those decisions in the heat of the moment at times, or taking appropriate action in the absence of orders, as we do with the NCO Corps, there is a big, everybody's the same type of thing going on with the military, putting us all in, everybody looks the same, does the same, is the same. And there's a guest I want to bring on here, hopefully in the very near future. I just did a seminar through the Leader Transition Institute, Changing Focus from We to Me. Was fantastic. It gets you in that mindset of really looking at yourself and how you prepare yourself for transition to get out of the military. So I'd love to bring them on here and have them talk about their program, because I think that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here. Because when you join the Army or the military in general, you are broken down and then built back up in the image that they want to see. And you do however long your tenure is in the military. And then as you transition out, the military is always a part of you, but you still have to go back to find who you are. And you have to bring yourself forward. Now, maybe you are military through and through. Maybe that's who you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as you leave, what skills from that are you going to use moving forward? So I think that there's a lot that goes into especially the transition piece. I mean, I like the line from Stripes where Bill Murray said we were all dumb enough to enlist in the Army. There's something really wrong with us. And there kind of is something wrong with us. We're all of a different mentality. We do a great thing serving our country, but now it's time to focus again on us.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think, look, my transition, again, I was going back to school, right? So when I got out, I went back to school. So the transition wasn't really the same for me as it was for, let's say, for you, right? You've already done your school. You're getting ready to transition out to full-time permanent civilian sector. So my journey's been a little bit different, but what I have gleaned from my time in transition is that there are so many people in, viewer audience. This is you, right? There are so many of you out there that, you're getting these resources thrown at you, but you're getting overwhelmed. And even through this venue, right? Through the Vet S.O.S show, we're going to be bringing a ton of content to you. Yep. But again, when we talk about not drowning in the sea of transition, you got to be able to discern what you're going to actually take and put into play.
There's
right?
over 40,000 organizations out there, Mark. Over 40,000 helping veterans. It's easy to drown in the transition sea.
Yeah.
And Dr. Soto was talking to it. I know Alfredo's going to talk to it. You have to find those resources that fit you and what you want to do. And that's really the hard part. And hopefully through this show, we're going to be able to highlight different organizations, and people are going to be able to find the fit that is right for them. Because there is something out there for absolutely everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And I see, give a couple shout outs as we're getting ready to go into our next guest. But who do we got in the comments? Who we got in the chat?
Got a couple of people pairing and streaming this show. We got Jane, who will be our final guest today. She's pairing. And we also got Aisha out there pairing, looking to pivot careers. So some great stuff right there. Yeah,
I see Caddy Espinoza. Thank you, Caddy, for joining us. Guys, this is what this is all about. It's about community, right? And so hit us up in this chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what you do, right? So if you are a resource to veterans, let us know in the chat. Type in there. Let us know what resources you have available, what organizations that you're working with. If you are, again, a service member, veteran, military family member, and you're in transition or you're getting ready to transition, also let us know what you're looking for. Type in the chat, and we'll see if we can get you plugged in.
That's what's great about this community, though, is everybody wants to help. If you are, especially if you're transitioning, if you're looking for guidance and help, you just have to start attending events. Going to things like the Vets to Industry, the 50 Strong. You will find resources. going to the USO and getting in the Pathfinder program. They're going to point you in very specific directions based on what you want to do. And then you have each state has their own tools out there for veterans. So the opportunities are endless. And it really, like when I started with, okay, there's 100 different things I'm qualified to do, between education, training, work experience, whatever. There are, easily 100 things. So it's taken me a year to basically get down to the 3 things I want to focus on. And one of those 3 things will be the next career. One's probably going to be like a side hustle. And then, the other one I probably won't do. So I got 2 viable career options, in my opinion, that I would like to go into and I think I'd be happy with. But it's taken me a year to get there. And that's where I think veterans have to be patient and they have to start early. You may know exactly what you want to do the rest of your life, which is great. I wish I had been one of those people, but I'm not. I no idea what I want to do. I didn't even plan on joining the military, but it happened, and I love the fact that I did it. And you got Matt chiming in here talking about trying to convince me to move to Texas. But the boss had the final vote. We are moving to Florida, so big fan of San Antonio, Texas. What a great place to live. But we're going back home to Florida, and we're going to continue to be. Hopefully, you don't see me on the news as the Florida man. So
yes. Yeah, we're gonna miss having you. I know when we first started talking and we first started putting the show together, Shawn, you were almost on your way over to San Antonio, and that changed pretty quickly. But I know you've got family and all that out there, so
yep.
And your support network's already out there. So speaking of which, right, support network. In the career transition space, as you're going through this, right, a lot of those networking groups are strategic and tactical. They do provide some support, but that's what I would also recommend, right? Find a community, a career transition group that actually does support and uplift you, right? They have ongoing events and activities that are going to, maybe it's on a weekly basis, but find a, if you want to call it a study group, right, that you can plug in with, and that you're all like-minded and you're able to help lift each other up and hold each other accountable, right? That's really what you need, is accountability as well.
Absolutely. And let's go back to episodes 2 and 3 with Don and Matt and the Military Transition Roundtable. The mastermind setup that they have, we have some amazing conversations in the cohort I'm involved in. We sit there and really talk about just about anything. But normally through our discussions, there is a key issue that comes up and we get deep into it. And we have accountability at the end, things that, we're going to be accountable for between the 2 weeks between meetings. And we come back and they call us out on it. Did you do this? So great group of people in my cohort. We've all connected through LinkedIn and we're constantly passing things back and forth. So they're looking to pay it forward as well. So I think finding groups like that is very important. Get in there where people you fit in, and we're all different ranks. We're all different, military background,
non-commissioned, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and different services. So, there's jokes. People want to talk about my Tennessee Volunteer shirt last week. It's all good.
What's this Tennessee Volunteer shirt?
Yeah, I've been a fan since I was 16, and I've gone through the last 15 years of misery. So, I'm resilient. Let's put it that way. I am resilient, and I'm looking forward to Tennessee football getting back on the map. Tennessee baseball is doing some great things. So we're coming back, and all I got to say is the Gators better start watching out. We're coming back. We're ready to start taking the East back.
Yeah. Well, and that's also, I think, a great point. And as we're getting ready to bring in Alfredo here in the next couple minutes, he had talked about his network, right? And he had talked about, because we've had a conversation with him already, he talked about the willingness to be able to open up his network, make introductions, things like that. In your network, right? And we'll take Tennessee out of it, but in your network, when we talk about leveraging that? How are some of the ways that you're seeing people leverage that? How are you leveraging that?
So I've gotten to the point where I can actually start making some connections, which is pretty cool to be in, because I'm still going through the process. I'm still learning, but now like I'll see things pop up, whether it's just a generic post, maybe someone I'm not connected with, or maybe it is someone I'm connected with where they're asking for something specific, and I can connect them with somebody who might be able to help or point them in a specific direction to possibly get help. And to me, that's an awesome feeling to just have the knowledge. And I know my level of knowledge in this space is, that big. There's still so much out there to learn, but I've already met a lot of great people and, in my opinion, key people in this space. So being able to pass that knowledge on and continue to pay it forward, to help other people, I think that's a big deal. And these guests that we're bringing on, they all feel the same way. It's all about helping people and giving back and helping them be successful in their transition.
Yeah, it's vital. You have to pay it forward, right? Or else the network stops.
Yep.
And so, I mean, there's so many people who have come through the career transition space, and I see this all the time, right? And we get ghosted. They come through, they get what they need, and then they ghost the
Yep.
network, right? So I would also caution you, or maybe the better positive spin on it, I would encourage you to stay networking.
Yep.
And these practices and strategic things and tactical things that you're learning about networking as you're in your transition don't stop when you get landed to your next position, because the odds are, number one, that might not be your forever home, that might not be your next 20-year career, right? 30-year career, whatever that is. You may be, and statistically speaking, we know you may be back in transition looking for another job in the next few years, could be. So we see that all the time, and I would encourage you not to fall into that pitfall of, oh, I got landed, I don't need to network anymore. Continue networking, continue building those relationships, so you can leverage that and rely on your friends, your network, when that new need comes.
You just dropped a nuclear bomb. All right, that is so big, because how do you look if you only come out when you need something? You do all this work to network, all this work building a network, and then you all of a sudden disappear because you finally got your job, and then 2 years later you come back, and everybody's like, "Oh, where you been?" So maybe people are going to help you. Maybe people are like, "You know what? You forgot about us. We're not going to help you." I mean, it could go either way. And I never understood, why would you put so much effort into building a network to just walk away? That doesn't make any sense to me. Where, do you have to be as active? Maybe not. Maybe you slow down your activity a little bit, and figure out the right times to do it. But don't just disappear. Stay in there and continue to help other people and give back what little you can. So,
Yep. It's
but
all in the pay it forward theme, the nature of this network. That's what we're driving for. Look, Shawn, you and I, this is volunteer work.
yep.
We're doing this because we're passionate about it. We're passionate about helping people. And so if we're pouring ourselves, and there's probably, I know there's plenty of people out there pouring themselves out into your lives.
Yep.
Pay
Absolutely.
it forward. Make sure that you're pouring out into others. All right. So we're here getting at the top of the hour. Let's cut to our commercial break and segment in our transition, because we've got Alfredo Torres up next, and super excited to hear more from Alfredo Torres, Dr. Soto. We will get back with, and we'll have him on again. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. He's so inspirational. So we'll definitely need to. And don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab that S.O.S life preserver.